So recently, Tectone was banned. But before we get into the reasons as to why he was banned or the update video that he made in regards to this ban, I do want to focus on some of his previous statements in regards to a previous ban that happened about 2 weeks ago. Now, the reason why I want to do that is because Tectone will utilize whataboutism to avoid and dodge any accountability for his actions. Tectone, in the past, he was banned 2 weeks ago. He made a complaint saying that he was banned for simply utilizing descriptors against people like Frogan, against people like Minx. When, funnily enough, that is not entirely the case. He will be incredibly dishonest and say that he will get banned for simply using descriptors, when in reality, it's much more than that. For example, when we go back to the video he made 2 weeks ago about Twitch being incredibly hypocritical, all he's doing here is essentially utilizing like other examples of people that should have gotten banned to deflect from taking accountability for what he actually did. Like right here.
Since then, I have learned from my mistake. Now, the next time I got banned was me calling everybody's favorite streamer, Frogan, fat. Now, I want to remind you that Frogan is roughly 5'2" and roughly 300 pounds. So I got banned for a descriptor. I called Frogan fat. I get banned for 2 weeks. It gets appealed down to 2 days and 18 hours, roughly.
Okay, that's not true. He didn't just get banned for utilizing a descriptor against Frogan. He didn't just do that. That's not specifically what he did. He'll try to like utilize that as the case to try to dodge accountability, try to downplay the severity of his actions. But that's not true. Now, to be clear, I am a firm believer that people like Tectone, that people like Frogan, that people like Hasan, that people like Asmongold should be free to say whatever it is that they want, no matter how harsh or controversial it is. However, in the case of Tectone, I'm not really criticizing him for being an asshole. No, I think he should be an asshole as much as he wants. What I'm criticizing is the fact that he downplays the severity of his actions to skirt criticism across the board. So right here, he's trying to make this a campaign against Twitch for blatant hypocrisy, and there is criticisms to be made against Twitch, but at the same time, he's utilizing that to dodge any accountability. So what did he actually say about Frogan? I wouldn't necessarily call what he does and says here necessarily just utilizing a descriptor the way that he frames it in his video.
Trying to push, you fat, disgusting bitch. Not only are you ugly on...
You fat, disgusting bitch is what he says. He's not simply utilizing a descriptor, he's making a direct attack at her appearance, which is against TOS. It is very explicitly against TOS. You could possibly even call this hateful, depending on the type of person that you are. Me personally, I'm not that sensitive. I don't care. But per how Twitch has their TOS worded, this could be seen as a direct attack on an appearance. This could be seen as hateful, which is against TOS and is a good reason to get banned, at least in my opinion. But he didn't simply just utilize a descriptor. He legitimately makes an attack.
The outside, you are ugly on the inside, and you should be f***ing ashamed. Thank God no man is ever going to have to see that shit. The only thing that sees...
Thank God no man is ever going to have to see that. Okay. I don't think this is just a descriptor that you're utilizing. You're utilizing you're making a direct attack against Frogan and her appearance.
The inside of you is the McDonald's Big Mac.
Look, and then he continues to like hammer down. He continues to hammer down the physical appearance attack by making jokes on top of it, which again, I don't think he should be banned for, but it is directly against Twitch TOS. And he's trying to obfuscate, he's trying to make it seem as if he didn't make a stronger attack. Now, the original clip, if I recall, he like continues to hammer it down and gets like, more inflamed at it.
Not once, but twice. Did you misspeak 3 times consecutively? No, Frogan, you're a piece of shit. You're a liar. And you live in your own rose-tinted glasses of who you are. However, the rest of the world is not going to fall for this revisionist history you are so desperately trying to push, you fat, disgusting bitch. Not only...
Well, yeah, he's making a direct attack on her because she's trying to like feign ignorance for what exactly it is that she said about the about veterans and PTSD. Which it's absolutely fair to criticize Frogan for being like deceptive, for being dishonest and attempting to go back on something that we obviously know we obviously know like she didn't do, right? She's trying to make it seem as if she misspoke. She didn't misspeak. she doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on that entire situation, as people like to say. Like everybody knows this. You can criticize that. There are appropriate ways to criticize that. Because there are rules that, unfortunately, people have to follow when you have a platform such as YouTube or Twitch. Like, I'm pretty sure even YouTube would ban this type of, like, speech. I'm pretty sure even YouTube, given the terms of service, will, like, demonetize you, if not strike you, for a level of, for utilizing a level of speech like. I mean, he's just being blatantly dishonest. Some people in my comments will be saying stuff like, who cares? These are terrible, awful people. Yeah, that's true, but, like, so is Tectone. Like, it's true that these people are terrible, awful people. But essentially, the wider commentary is, like, just because people like Frogan and Denims are red flags themselves in more hateable ways, because it's a lot easier to have disdain towards anti-American statements, because that's what people will typically tack against Frogan and Denims, is that they're, like, anti-American. And because people, like, really dislike the way they talk about their politics and beliefs, doesn't mean that the level of fakeness and stupidity between all of these people, including Tectone, isn't similar, if not exactly the same. Tectone will be dishonest, Frogan will be dishonest, Denims will be dishonest. They will all essentially try to, like, rewrite and retell the story of what they've done in the past to absolve themselves of any guilt. It's just that more people are willing to, like, dick suck and dick ride Tectone, given the fact that he, like, vaguely aligns with some sort of political sentiment that they have, or some ideological sentiment that they have. Like, he's more appealing to that thing. Even though realistically, if you were to look at this all in its totality, as some people like to say, these people are all equally as bad, at least in my opinion. There is something very important to say about Denims, because people will also say that Denims has been slandering and defaming him, so Twitch should ban them for essentially slandering and defaming him. Okay, look. This is all just whataboutism, right? People are just, like, trying to deflect from accountability or from things that should be rightfully banned, and trying to, like, tack it on to something else, even though, in my opinion, I think Denims probably has said some things in the past that deserves a ban. But people will try to deflect from this by saying that Denims defames and slanders Tectone on a daily basis, but, like, people don't really understand what defamation and slander really is. So Tectone's himself will say that Denims slanders me on a daily basis and tries to utilize that as, like, as a criticism, when in reality, people don't understand how that works. Simply, for example, okay, so generally speaking, based on all of the information available, based on everything that we know, based on everything that's been presented in videos like Shamu's video, it is not insane to come away, like, with a general conclusion or idea that perhaps Tectone, due to the amount of sweeping and lying that he does, did do something bad. I will never make a label, and I will never accuse anybody of anything without more definite evidence. But generally speaking, people do behave in ways like that. Like, for example, because of Tectone, people will call Denims a whore that whores herself out simply because of the OnlyFans claim. But can you definitively prove that Denims is a whore, even if she does have an OnlyFans? Also, another, like, thing that I want to discuss is that Tectone here in this video will try to come after Frogan as well for not being banned for her 9/11 rhetoric. That's not necessarily true. He will say that Frogan celebrated 9/11 and wished 9/11. Well, actually, you know what? Let me just find it himself so that I'm not, like, misquoting him or mischaracterizing what he's saying.
And by the way, this is after her saying that all American soldiers deserve PTSD, and as well as America deserved 9/11. Yes. Oh, by the way, she didn't get banned for that. Now.
Well, see, this is like fundamentally untrue. She didn't say 9/11, like, America deserved 9/11. That's not true. That's not true. That's a huge misrepresentation of what actually occurred. Right? Here's what actually happened, because I did do some digging, and I did find what occurred. So here's the initial clip that people bring up in regards to Frogan, saying that she said America deserved 9/11. This is the only thing that I could find. I could not find anything else.
Okay, 6250, 9/11 baking stream with Raph and Capri. If we get to this goal by 9/11, Capri, Raph, and I will make the Twin Towers out of a stacked cake, and we'll make an airplane, and we'll recreate 9/11.
People more patriotic than I have made 9/11 jokes since, like, the very fucking, like, beginning of time, okay? Like, this isn't anything, like, super insane. This isn't anything super insane. People have made edgy jokes all the fucking time. If you're okay with fucking Tectone going out of his way to call Minx a whore that he wouldn't fuck with whatever fucking person's dick he mentioned. If you really want to like defend Tectone and play fucking like defense, if people are really running defense for Tectone and like saying that he got unjustly banned for essentially calling Minx an alcoholic with mental retardation who's a whore and whores herself out for anybody, then ideally, you should also allow this to be said without repercussions. If you don't want Tectone to face repercussions for calling Frogan a fat bitch who's disgusting on the inside and the outside, then you should also be fine with this. Realistically, you should be fine with both of these things. This is actually significantly less worse than what Tectone has had to say about any of these people. Simply making an edgy joke like this should be allowed, in my opinion. People making edgy commentary and making insults should be allowed, in my opinion. All of this should be allowed. This, I would measure significantly less in severity than most of the stuff Tectone has said as direct attacks towards these individuals. I've made worse jokes. I wouldn't fucking, pearl clutch at Frogan making statements like these. Like, sure, it's in bad taste, it's in poor taste, but I don't fucking care. Just because you don't like them, they're not allowed to make jokes that most people would typically make anyways? Like, come on, let's be so fucking for real here. It's really not that big a deal. Tectone will go out of his way and say that Frogan didn't get banned for making the PTSD joke. Yes, she did. She did get banned for 2 weeks, if I recall correctly. This, in my opinion, just it being an edgy joke, is not enough for me to, like, essentially, get morally outraged and say, and say that she deserves to get banned for that. I don't think that's, like, nearly as egregious. If Tectone really wants these people to be held accountable for these things, then he should be held accountable for significantly less, in my opinion.
Let's talk about why I got banned this time. Well, it's actually due to 2 streamers, not 1 but 2, and this is great. So here it is.
Okay, so here, for example, let me just skip ahead because I do have a timestamp. He'll try to obfuscate what he actually did, what got him banned, and he'll be like, Twitch is incredibly hypocritical. People say horrible things all the time. They don't get banned. Again, you're just distracting from the fact that you did do something against TOS. You're refusing to take accountability. You'd rather... So, for example, later on in this video, he'll talk about how he got banned, why he got banned specifically. And he'll say that he got banned for, again, utilizing descriptors. For just using a descriptive word, such as whore.
There. Now, you might be wondering, why did I get banned for 7 days?
Yes, why did you get banned for 7 days?
/Tectone. Why did Twitch deem me worthy of a 7-day ban?
Why did Twitch deem you worthy of a 7-day ban, I wonder?
Because I called them whores.
Because you called them whores?
Yep. I called 2 women with OnlyFans whores.
You called 2 women with OnlyFans whores. Is that all you did? I'm pretty sure that's not all you did. I mean, doing that in and of itself, by the way, is against TOS. Doing that in and of itself is against TOS. I'll show you guys right now. And these aren't new rules. These rules have been present for quite a while. They've been there since at least 2024, per the last time this was updated. So what are the guidelines about calling people whores? We prohibit unwanted comments, including comments made using emojis/emotes regarding someone's appearance or body, sexual requests or advances, sexual objectification, and negative statements or attacks related to a person's perceived sexual behavior or activities. So, what would calling somebody a whore entail? What would calling somebody a whore entail? And negative statements or attacks related to a person's perceived sexual behaviors or activities. Try as he might to say that he was just utilizing a descriptive word, a descriptor. That is not actually what occurred, as he made a direct attack at a person's perceived sexual behaviors or activities. Perceived is very specific here because people will perceive Denims as a whore for having an OnlyFans, when again, it's very difficult to actually call her behavior on OnlyFans whore-like behavior, depending on what, the definition it is that you use, or how you colloquially understand whore. Because if we actually take a look at what he said, in regards to this, he didn't just use a descriptive word, he made a very direct attack. He made a very, very direct attack.
Yep, dude, let me tell you, man. Mental retardation and Jack Daniels, recipe for disaster.
Mental retardation and Jack Daniels, recipe for disaster. I wonder if that's simply just utilizing a descriptive word. But hold on, let's see what else he has to add to that.
Minx also takes shots at every Alcoholics Anonymous meeting she goes to. Yeah, you want to know why she didn't respond to that? Because she know her ass got fucked. I'll be real, bro. Minx is such a nasty bitch.
I'll be real, bro. Minx is such a nasty bitch.
wouldn't
Yeah?
fuck that whore with Russell's.
I wouldn't fuck that whore with what?
dick. I'm
Yeah?
good, bro. Absolutely not. Hell nah, bro. You can track like every single bro. Like you have sex with Minx, and then your STD list starts to look like one of these Pokédex bios in fucking Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Like chlamydia / and like some flag for representing crabs. You know what I'm saying? And like 18 other descriptors. Yeah, she caught them all. Yeah, she caught them all, guys, but it's not Pokemon that she caught.
Oh, she caught all of these STDs. Yeah, let me just make continued attacks on somebody's perceived sexual activity. I wonder if this could possibly be against TOS. I wonder if you simply just utilize a descriptor as you go on to explain in your video and deceived your entire audience to make a direct attack against Twitch. Now, you can criticize Twitch for being incredibly hypocritical and for not properly moderating their website and for choosing favorites. However, he's specifically utilizing all of this to raise a flag and distract from very real accountability that he has to face. He's utilizing whataboutism to essentially say, hey, look at these guys. These guys are equally as horrible as me. Perhaps that's true, but you should still take this on the chin instead of like pretend and posturing to your audience as if you're not fucking culpable of breaking TOS, because that's exactly what he's doing.
This is my 4th fucking ban in the past 90 days. Over what? Might you ask? Well, guess what? This is by far the worst one ever. And this one laid forth a little trap that I set for you, Twitch. Yeah.
Dude, he's trying so hard. He's trying so hard to like, okay, people that are like unintelligent and incapable of actually coming up with anything clever over their, like, you know, for themselves will essentially try to LARP and mimic whatever it is that they see. He saw Ethan Klein be like, oh, I laid out a little trap for Denims, Caseytron, and Frogan. People that all of you hate. And now Tectone is like, Twitch, you fell for my trap card. I was hoping that you'd ban me again so that I can then release all of this information that I have stored against all of your favorite creators. Like, no, motherfucker, you're not clever. You're not intelligent. This is not a little trap. This is not a trap. That's not what a trap is definitionally.
I bet you didn't know that, because I was waiting for you to do this, and I knew that you would do this, and I knew.
Okay, so you were like, so why were you complaining? Why were you then complaining under the Twitch ban about what it is that you did? Because he got banned on Twitch. The first thing he replies is, "What did I do this time?" He got banned on Twitch. That post went like that automated post was made, and he was like, "What did I do this time? What is it that you knew?" Because apparently, you didn't know. So once again, posturing for the audience. He's not that intelligent. He actually didn't know. He's lying.
The reason would be even stupider than the one before. So thank you for once again allowing me to showcase to the world how truly fucking stupid you are. Let's go ahead and talk about the hypocrisy, the double standards, and the preferential treatment of every single person on this goddamn platform, running it behind the scenes.
Well, yes, we understand that there might be preferential treatment and hypocrisy, but you're utilizing that as a distraction from taking accountability for your actions. So if you do know what's going on, then why don't you just like come forward and say, I got banned for this reason? And say, and then actually make a strong argument as to how moderation is incredibly inconsistent rather than just posturing.
So,
because that's all he does. I wouldn't mind if he was like straightforward about it, but he simply isn't. He's dishonest about it every step of the way.
Yes, I have been banned once again. Found out about, what, 2 minutes ago, probably? We got a nice little Twitter thread going over on X.
So he got a suspension again for sexual requests, graphic derogatory sexual statements, or unwanted sexual contact, which I assume is because he keeps calling people whores. I assume it's because he keeps making direct attacks at people's, like, again, sexual perceived proclivities.
And they can't take my sub revenue, so I will be going live on Twitch once I'm unbanned again, which I have a prediction. I predict I will be unbanned in the next 24 hours.
No, nobody's forcing your hand. This is not this incredibly manipulative fucking mastermind tactic that you're attempting to employ. You are simply being petty and vindictive and trying to essentially do more whataboutism to distract from very real accountability that you should probably take.
Wow.
But ultimately, people like this, that's the only thing that they can actually amount to when it comes to holding, like, you know, when it comes to, like, either taking criticism or directing criticism.
Why did I get banned? On streamer VOD, Drama Gaming Reacted, New Stellar Blend.
Where the violation occurred, on streamer VOD. So this occurred somewhere. This did occur somewhere, so he should know. They gave him a reason. Yeah, he's acting like, okay. So he knows, but he doesn't know. So which is it?
Great game, by the way. Huge drama, mega content. What is going on this time? Content creation date, June 23rd, 2025 at 2:26 p.m. UTC. I got to be let known why I got banned once again, and I was directed to this part of my VOD,
Okay.
where you guys will never guess what I was talking about. You'll never guess. You'll never guess why I got banned again, guys.
I mean, it has to be Denims.
Do we have any
it has
predictions?
to, it has to be
I
him
would
talking
love
about
to know.
Denims.
Who do you think got me banned yet again? Yep, there it is. That dumb bitch who's getting her ass sued, and I can't wait for her ass to get permanent. Yes, I have been mass reported by Denims community once again.
Show the clip, motherfucker. Show us why you got banned instead of saying that you've been mass reported. Show us why it is that you got banned instead of fucking claiming and raising this fucking flag, this fucking red herring, and saying that you got mass reported by Denims. People are gonna eat this shit up at his word when we have fucking evidence of him misrepresenting what it is that he's been banned for in the past. Show us the clip. Show us why you got banned. Show us why you got banned instead of, like, essentially feigning ignorance and then driving attention to something else.
For calling her a whore.
Oh, for calling her a whore. Are you sure it's just only calling her a whore? Because I'm pretty sure calling her a whore is against TOS, as we have seen. Calling her a whore is against TOS.
Wow! Amazing, amazing. And you know what's crazy? I didn't even call her a whore this time. That's what's crazy.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Even if you utilized euphemisms or different language or tried phrasing in a different way where it wasn't as impactful, it is still against TOS per the TOS, per the guidelines.
I got banned because she said she was upset that she was being called a whore. And then I said,
making people uncomfortable for calling them a whore is against community guidelines.
I got banned merely.
No, but you heavily implied it. It was an implication, which is still against TOS. Just for like a quick refresher, we'll go back. Making derogatory statements about another person's perceived sexual practices. There we go again. Alleging that a person is sexually immoral due to their attire or physical appearance. Arguable. Stating that a person's attire reflects negatively on their sexual practices. Suggesting that a person's channel is only popular and has not been suspected due to sexual favors. Repeatedly negatively targeting another person with sexually focused terms such as whore or virgin. Interesting! Making claims that another person likely has sexually transmitted infection due to their sexual practices, which is something that he did against Minx, by the way. Attempting to coerce other people into providing sexual content or favors through threats, not something that he did. There's various points here that are applicable to what he did, which, in my opinion, is enough to justify a ban. But he'll never show you what he said. He'll never direct you to what he said, because he's being dishonest. He is being deceptive.
For saying if you don't want to be called that, then don't have an OnlyFans. Is that not fucking insane? And in case you're wondering, well, Techie, well, maybe you shouldn't be saying that.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be saying that. Yeah, maybe perhaps you shouldn't be saying these things that are directly against community guidelines. You portray yourself to be this incredibly intelligent individual, but you can't read a few lines? You can't read a few lines?
You're right. Oh, and by the way, I'm taking you on a journey here, right? There's levels to this shit, and I need you guys to understand how fucked up this is about to get. So, the woman, in case you missed last time I got banned, which is about 2 weeks ago, wow, story time with Techie, there's this girl called Denims who keeps on calling me a sexual predator, a abuser, a guy who beats women, and she's called me a rapist. Her buddy Hasan has called me a familial obligated rapist. Do you think they got banned?
Well, is that TOS? Is there something here to suggest that it's TOS? Let's see. Also, I would like to say, I would like to see the exact clips that you're like, you know, referencing to, which I'm pretty sure he provides. And I know I'm being like somewhat sarcastic there, but it is because there's a difference between making unwanted claims or statements about somebody, right, in regards to their sexual proclivities, which actually would be TOS based on what we read. And there's also another thing about claiming defamation. Because, given all of the information that's available and compiled against Tectone and all the allegations being given, it is more than fair for somebody that is unintelligent or not really that perceptive to assume that Tectone probably has done some questionable things in the past. To apply a direct label, such as rapist or sexual abuser, is incredibly reckless and unnecessary, but it is not defamatory. It is only defamatory if you know that what you are doing is falsified and are still parroting it to specifically damage somebody's reputation. Now, in the case of Denims and Hasan, given the video that they watched in regards to Shamu, it is entirely possible, given all the evidence and all the information, that perhaps it is more than fair to assume that Tectone does have some undesirable behavior in his history. Will I make that as a definitive claim? No.
They got nothing. They got zero punishment. Fucking zero. I explained to them why they're being called that. I get banned for 7 days again.
I explained to them why they're being called that. I get banned for 7 days again. Well, it's unwanted. An explanation is not a justification. You are still going to get rightfully banned for breaking the fucking guidelines. It is not that hard to grasp.
Clean up my
An explanation is not a justification.
language when talking about this. But apparently, I can't talk about Frogan. I can't talk about Hasan. I can't talk about Denims.
You can talk about them, just don't use derogatory language, as is mentioned in the guidelines. Do not make unwanted comments about people's appearance. Do not make direct attacks. Do not make comments on somebody's sexual proclivities, and you'll be fine.
I can't talk about any of them.
No, you can talk about them and you can criticize. You are more than likely, you are okay. That's not even true, because I'm pretty sure there's been instances where he's talked about Hasan, he's talked about all of these individuals, he's talked about Denims, he's talked about literally all of these individuals consistently over and over and over again, and he hasn't gotten banned. And I presume it's because he hasn't utilized a direct claim of calling them fat, a whore, or some other sort of unwanted descriptor. That, or it hasn't been talked about yet.
Yet they can run my name through the mud 24/7. Now, I believe, a little bit of tinfoil hat here, I believe that there might be some preferential treatment going on.
Yes, there's preferential treatment
For Hasan,
What's new?
on Denims and Frogan. I might believe that anybody pushing extreme leftist agenda, these extreme libtards on the internet, I think someone on Twitch agrees with them. But then, that was my thoughts a couple of weeks ago.
Is there political alignment and favoritism? Yes, there's political alignment and favoritism everywhere, and Twitch should be rightfully scrutinized for that, and also be rightfully criticized for that. But that's not the contention here. The contention is direct breaks of community guideline terms. He's just posturing. He's just posturing for his audience. It's incredibly funny and popular to make fun of libtards. It's incredibly funny and popular to call people like team-sided. That's what he's doing, without realizing that everybody's just going to believe him at face value because these people themselves are equally as team-sided and are willing to support this guy unconditionally, regardless of what he does or how much he lies or how dishonest he is, because they're more aligned with his side than they align to the other side. This is all just my team versus your team, without any actual criticism or any actual substantive conversation being made.
I set up a little trap. I did.
No, you didn't.
In case you guys are wondering, last time I got banned, I made sure to inform you guys that I sent them a folder. And I want to let you guys know that folder was seen. I wanted to let you guys know that something big was going to happen, giving them incredibly good faith. And I want to let you know, nothing happened.
Nothing ever happens. Yes, let's go. All right, what was the folder? Show us the folder. Show us the contents of the folder. Show us what exactly it is that you showcase that is like undeniable evidence that these people keep breaking TOS. Show us.
Of videos and screenshots that went on for quite a bit, ranging from everybody from Mike from PA.
Well, yeah, the reason that's this is not like this isn't TOS as far as I can tell. Is there any like, you know, TOS about talking about things that you actually believe? I don't see anything about claims. I don't see about anything about preaching what you believe in. I don't know. I don't see how that's TOS. I don't know about that. Can you criticize Denims for being completely idiotic and applying labels where she really shouldn't because she doesn't actually know the facts of the matter, and we can only work off allegations and a compilation of information? Yes, you can absolutely call her an idiot and a moron for doing so. You should never be applying labels to people or claiming that people did something definitively without knowing the full, like, you know, the full amount of the information at hand. You should never be doing that. You should never be making claims like that, absolutely. But simply saying something that you believe because somebody presented a case against you, in this case, Shamu made a video that Denims watched, that is not the same thing as defamation, libel, or slander. Defamation is a very, very specific thing. If she genuinely believes that because somebody compiled a bunch of information to make the argument that perhaps Tectone is hiding something or is sweeping things under the rug, then she is more than allowed to say something that she believes. The reason Tectone can't sue Denims is because this technically wouldn't fit the criteria of defamation or slander.
Clips where Denims is saying that I'm a rapist and I can't sue her because...
Well, she doesn't say rapist there. If she definitively called you a rapist, if you could provide evidence that she definitively called you a rapist, then you could get her on some of these points.
Is calling me a rapist, a pedophile, an abuser, going in on Nuxtaku, going in on Mudahar, going in on all of these streamers going in on all of these, content creators with complete blasphemous language.
I don't think the clip that he showed here of Denims essentially saying he did that shit, I don't think that's defamatory, given the overwhelming amount of information that would point in that direction. Does that mean that he definitively is? No, I don't believe that he is. I don't think that he is. To claim that he is would be incredibly reckless and malicious, in my opinion. But a typical individual who doesn't have significant amount of foresight, critical thoughts, or the ability to parse information will probably not come to that same conclusion. They will literally just look at something and call it as they see it, because that's how stupid people. That's how some people are. That's how some people are sometimes. That's why defamation has incredibly high bars.
I completely get it. Trust me, you should report her and send me whatever clips. And by the way, this is me working with the one good mod that Twitch.
So this guy is accusing Denims of mass reporting and trying to get Tectone deplatformed for his claims that are absolutely against TOS. Yet he doesn't hold that level of, he doesn't hold that level of standards to himself where he's actively talking to a Twitch moderator to permanently deplatform Denims. Maybe that's not his intention. Maybe he wants to see her banned for at least a day, 7 days, to be clear. But given the language that he utilizes, he does say that he hopes for a perma. But do you have any legitimate evidence, anything substantial to make the claim that she definitively broke a guidelines violation? I would like to see an example of that. I would love to see that. I would love to see an example of her definitively breaking the guidelines, definitively violating the guidelines the same way Tectone has.
How many people were talking about Mink 72 hours ago? 0. Yes, 100%. But bro, her tweet had 1 million views out of nowhere. It's hard for me to ignore something that big after she went after me and my family. Same thing with Denims.
Personally, I don't think anything off platform should be banned, but it is their platform. It is their company. They can do whatever the fuck they want. If they want to uphold these very specific standards of you not utilizing words like retardation or calling people infected with STDs, if they don't want you calling people whores or poking fun at the fact that they have an OnlyFans, which is very specific in the TOS, in the guidelines, then perhaps you shouldn't be saying it on the platform or off the platform. And maybe you wouldn't get banned, justifiably so. And maybe you wouldn't have to grasp at straws at things that you would like them to get banned for, but don't have a definitive clause within the guidelines for them to be subject to a ban for.
They have been sent tweets, they have been sent clips, they have been sent videos, they have been sent screenshots. Everything has been sent and received. via off-screen violation or on-platform violations and on-platform violations.
By the way, did ever label Tectone a rapist or abuser or a pedophile? Are those words that came out of her mouth? Can I have evidence of her directly utilizing those words? Or are those just words that you are adopting because of the implications?
Going after Asmongold's dead fucking mother.
Who cares? Who cares? Moral posturing? I don't give a fuck. I'll make fun of anybody's dead parents. I'll make fun of anything. If you want to call somebody a whore, if you want to mock somebody's STDs, if you call somebody a fucking disgusting fat bitch, then perhaps everything should be on the table and be fair game. I mean, I'm just saying, if you don't want to be a hypocrite, making fun of Asmongold's dead mother and dead father and making fun of your father should be fair game. If you want to have the freedom to use these descriptors, that should be fair game. You want to poke fun at people? Let people poke fun at you. Let other people poke fun at anything. You don't want to get banned for these things, then you should let everything on the table. Instead of like selectively choosing what should and shouldn't be allowed.
I compiled a folder. I submitted an appeal. I made all of this. Appeal sent.
Thank you, Scully, for becoming a member. Very much appreciated. Okay, so let's take a look at exactly what Tectone has compiled. And let's check the legitimacy. Let's check the legitimacy.
Okay? If there is no crime, you cannot go after someone for simply speech that you don't like. That
True.
statement inherently is contradictory. You can't just be like, well, I've decided you can deport people who are legal permanent residents because I don't like their speech. Okay, then you're not for free speech.
True. My voice cracked.
Then you're not. You don't like the current existing American free speech protections. You don't want non-citizens to have free speech protections. Maybe that's what you're trying to say. Okay, I guess that's what the statement is here. Which is still ridiculous. Because
True.
The standard of free speech isn't just like what you've chosen that you don't like. It's
True.
across the board, at least in
True.
America. There are some exceptions to it, but it's like Mahmoud Khalil did not violate any of those standards.
I don't understand how this is TOS. So, nothing to get banned for. Nothing to get banned for.
Fight tooth and nail. But it's gross as fuck. Okay? That wasn't the part I was talking about, bro. Keep watching until you bring up the content nuke to see his reaction. I don't care about fucking Ethan's reaction. I don't even want to see it anymore. I'm so pissed off. What are we doing? Like, what the fuck are we doing? How are we so goddamn cruel? You know what I mean? How is that allowed? How do other people in the community don't fucking check these people? You know what I mean? Why is that appropriate? Why is that in any way, shape, or form appropriate? Like, that's a fucking peer, okay? Yeah, I'm sorry she doesn't have fucking 30,000 live concurrent viewers. Maybe then you would suck up to her and respect her. Gross. Fucking gross, dude.
Nothing TOS. Nothing TOS. Still yet to see anything TOS.
I am genuinely considering full swabbing to YouTube if this terrorist propaganda isn't punished harshly. Wait, did Tectone unironically think him posting this is not going to be a call for celebration?
Not TOS. I haven't seen anything TOS so far.
Deserve 9/11. I can't disavow facts, man. I can't disavow reality. The same.
Not a claim that she made. Not a claim that she made. Also, even though it sounds bad, that is not a direct endorsement of terrorism. Additionally, you get like depending on that is freedom of speech that is protected. That is not hate speech. So, not TOS. Even though it sounds horrible on a technicality, none of that is TOS, and it is protected through levels of freedom of speech.
Way America deserves.
It is not an endorsement of harassment. And as a matter of fact, depending on where you align on the political spectrum and what your ideologies are and what your train of logic is, to say that America deserved 9/11 is probably not an incredibly horrible thing to say. And the reason why I say that is not to defend the fact that people are saying this, but it's more to say that if you actually start to consider their ideologies and where they're coming from, like, for example, these people will probably say America deserved 9/11 due to the constant poking and prodding that the United States has had on foreign affairs and the amount of instigation that they have, like, the amount of instigation that they have, like, brought against multiple countries in the Middle East. So at some point, some people are going to get incredibly perturbed at the constant meddling of affairs the United States has and employ their own attacks. So, America, for example, has sent constant troops overseas and has killed thousands of people in the Middle East. So don't be surprised when eventually somebody retaliates. Given like a perspective of an eye for an eye, which all of these people seem to believe in, by the way, to be clear, including Tectone. If Tectone likes to do this whataboutism and say that these people deserve it too because I got it too, when you take into consideration if America deserved something due to their constant poking and prodding, then realistically, given that train of logic, you would probably agree with the idea that because of the constant instigation that the United States has had against certain affairs, then yes, perhaps America, within a line of logic like that, would have deserved, due to their meddling and poking and prodding, probably did deserve some form of retaliation. Do I agree with that line of logic? Probably not. I don't think that any sort of violence is ever deserved. I do not agree with that form of logic, but I'm just explaining that they're not saying that from a point of endorsing terrorism. They're saying that from the point of an eye for an eye conversation, which is an incredibly important distinction to make. Still not TOS.
9/11.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it.
Leftists preach and
Still not
foam
TOS. Still not TOS.
at the mouth at the thought of a revolution happening in America, but as soon as it happens in the Middle East, what they're doing is wrong.
Still not TOS.
Hezbollah is a paramilitary organization that is also a part of the Lebanese parliament.
Do we like
Still not TOS.
them or no?
I think as a resistance group, they're pretty successful against Israel. But everybody hates them. Like, everybody in the region, a lot of people don't like them. Like,
I like what you like.
I don't have an issue with them, let's just say. But they are a terrorist organization.
No, you have to, like, you unironically have to go down so many fucking loops and ladders to, like, explain that to somebody, because they'll think, like, so many people are so team-sided and are so like diehard patriotic and blinded by, like, unconditional support for things, that as soon as you say America should have seen something coming, they'll be like, oh, so you support terrorism? You have to explain it thoroughly, or else people won't get it in their minds. And even when you explain it thoroughly, people still won't get it into their fucking minds.
Like, they're designated. They are designated by the American state as a terrorist organization.
I do not like them then.
Okay. Nothing shown here is TOS. You are allowed to show a level of support and admiration for an organization that is seen as a terrorist organization through the lens of Hasan. He views them as an appropriate retaliatory force to people that he deems condemnable due to their disproportionate actions of genocide. He is not endorsing terrorism as a whole on the people of America or on people that don't deserve it, which is a completely it is important to distinguish these things than to just conflate them as he just supports terrorism in general and hopes the worst for people. It is incredibly important to make those like what's it called, designations, because if you don't, it is very easy to call everything that people do. If you utilize the line of logic where you can just conflate these things, the same way that Tectone is presumably doing by utilizing these clips, then by that line of logic, it would be incredibly fair game to call Tectone whatever it is that you want to call him based on the information that you've seen about him. So, I mean, if he's unhappy about that, then he should be unhappy about what he's trying to do here as well. Not TOS.
I gotta be honest, with my experience in life,
Don't care about what
with
Destiny
people
has to say.
Ethan, the only thing that ever knocks them out of their fucking spiraling is the rod. It's the stick. It's not the carrot.
Okay, Chief.
Like, he feels like he's bullying you. He feels like he's hurting you. He's not gonna stop until he's bleeding out of the corner of his mouth. And I get it. I want to be empathetic. Like, I understand the value of empathy. I understand the value of trying to reach out to someone. But somebody like Ethan, he needs to see some stars before he's gonna fucking back down.
I wouldn't call this a direct call to violence. I could more call it a figure of speech, right? Like he needs to be like, you know, for example, he needs to say, like, face accountability in terms of, like, you know, potentially political discourse or discourse in general on the internet. I wouldn't call this a direct call to violence, but if it was meant in a physical manner, then yes, this would be TOS. But it's ambiguous. Unless you can definitively prove that this is meant as a direct threat, as a physical threat, then yes, it would be TOS. However, you could probably chalk this up to a figurative, you know, to figurative language. So, ambiguous, although I'm pretty sure he's like, at least per the context, he's talking about this figuratively, not literally. So, not TOS. Nothing TOS so far.
This is a 17-year-old whose family was murdered in front of her, and she was kidnapped for 50 days and continually raped while being in captivity. Nothing to say? Nothing? You're not going to fucking acknowledge what just happened?
I will acknowledge what just happened. This woman who...
This was in a video, by the way. This didn't occur on Twitch. And I did see this video, even though Denims was being very dishonest to claim that this is TOS, because I already know where this is going. To claim that this is TOS, not true. Not TOS. This is not against the terms of service.
Claimed was continually raped in captivity, did not claim to have been raped.
כל פעם שפגשתי מישהו היה לפחות מישהי או מישהו אחד שחוו התעללות מינית והתעללות פיזית. כאילו חצי מהם.
In that interview, she says that at least half the hostages she spoke to said they were sexually assaulted. At no point did she claim that anything had happened to her, and to my knowledge so far, no hostages have given first-hand accounts of being sexually assaulted in captivity.
Minda.
I remember thinking, now is the moment. Something, what you thought about is going to happen. And then I remember I turned around and heaven resisted me.
Okay, how can this be in the same video? It's almost like she didn't watch it at all. Okay, well.
Not TOS! Not TOS! Not TOS! I'm pretty sure this is the same thing.
This is a 17-year-old whose family was murdered in front of her, and she was kidnapped for 50 days.
I will...
She was hard at my...
Not TOS. I'm sorry. Not TOS. An opinion like this is not. I mean, I guess if you're really conflationary, you can appropriate that, or you can apply that, not appropriate that. You can apply that to sexual harassment or making unwanted claims about somebody's, like, you know, sexual or perceived sexual, you know, activities. But it's not TOS. And it's also not an egregious example. You can come to the general idea that perhaps you are a pervert based on the, you know, available information against you. So he's attempting to utilize this as an example of Denims making the claim or making the assertion that Tectone is a rapist. However, by this standard, Tectone would be equally accountable by implying that his dad is a rapist by utilizing his dad as a threat. And Denims is like, male humor be like rape. I mean, yeah. This seems pretty, like, you know, 1-1, in my opinion. Not TOS. Not an example for somebody to be banned for. This is just banter, discourse. Who cares? Yes, I got banned for 2 weeks for simply calling Frogan a fat piece of shit. Does be by my enemies. She's not making an implication. She's not making an implication at all of this guy being a rapist, a pedophile, or a sexual abuser in any way. She is simply pointing out that Tectone will utilize incredibly underhanded language to criticize people or to attack people, which is fair. So, not TOS. Grasping at straws. Grasping at straws. Yes, I got banned for 2 weeks for do nothing, not an implication of anything. Not TOS. Kick recruiting a cesspest during a Pride Month is so brave. Have an off platform. Isn't that egregious because somebody could reasonably come to the conclusion that Tectone is a sex pest given the information available? given his own claims on Twitch as well, given like given how he utilizes language against women, not TOS. Parading your dad around like he's an honorable man, but when he's exposed as a rapist, Tectone responds to saying he has cancer, not TOS, unfortunately. Not TOS, unfortunately. I don't even have to read that. I don't even have to like engage with this, unironically, because any normal person can conclude that his dad is a rapist. Although, me personally, I wouldn't make that conclusion. I would say it as it is and claim that he was an incredibly, I want to say, porn-addicted individual in the military who, inappropriately used his computer to send pornography around and sexually harass individuals. Women, to be specific. So, not TOS. I'm not seeing anything TOS so far. Not TOS. I don't see anything TOS. Not TOS. Literally none of this is against community guidelines. He wants to get people banned for nothing that is against community guidelines. They got your dad's sex crimes in the congressional record, man. Why are you still chirping? They did. This is true. This is a factual statement. This is a legitimate factual statement. I did the research. This is a legitimate factual statement, not TOS. Directing others to sexually explicit content. I mean, you are whoever you're attempting to get banned for this would be direct. But there's no way he's like this fucking hyper focused on like being vindicated for using an appropriate descriptor of a person he deems a whore because they have an OnlyFans, when calling somebody a fucking whore is directly against TOS. What is this supposed to prove? What is this supposed to prove? That Palestinians are an inferior culture that deserves genocide. He did do that, to be clear. Promotes the AFD. Not sure. Not sure if that's... Well, I mean, yeah, actually, that is true. Wanted to dress up like Ash Ketchum and stream a deportation right along with ICE. I'm not sure if that's true. Demands I get banned. Defends Tectone. But I'm the villain because I RT someone who was mean to him on a separate tweet. Not TOS. Sorry to tell you. Why did you assume this was about you, buddy? Is this because you know you're pushing terrorist propaganda, which is directly against TOS? Kind of weird, big guy. He's not pushing terrorist propaganda. He might be platforming it. He might be promoting it. Well, promoting is a difficult term to prove. Ideally, he should be banned. He should have been banned all those prior times for at least mishandling terrorist propaganda, which I would argue he did. But what is this supposed to prove? What are they going to do? Retroactively ban somebody for something that happened literally months to years ago? Okay. Yet another male victim of divorce court. Send your thoughts and prayers, everyone. Submit. Not TOS. Sorry to tell you. Sorry, why is he crying? Motherfucker knew about shithead of a dad's essaying woman. Followed her in his footsteps and is trying to blame it on Hasan. Not TOS. Sorry to tell you. Thanks, don't care about your feelings. Also, how's your other rapist allegedly buddy Tectone doing? Yes, Tectone. I saw the post and I heard about your abusive behavior. You are truly sick. This is TOS. Making unwanted sexual comments about somebody's presumed nature is TOS. Calling somebody a rapist, especially unfoundedly, at least per my standards of what constitutes unfounded or unsubstantiated, is TOS. So I would argue that this is TOS. Caseytron using Asmongold's stepmother to attack him. Don't care. If you're going to have that level of moral posturing, then perhaps you shouldn't be calling people whores. So... What have we determined so far? What is there to like really determine from all of this? Tectone is a lying piece of shit that is attempting to misrepresent this entire situation to make it seem as if these people did something that's against TOS per his own identification, even though that's not the case. So, this entire video is literally just meant to be... But yeah, it's just posturing. It's literally just, pretending to be like he's some big dog who was like, catching these people in a fucking trap when in reality he did no such thing. And I think he does deserve his ban. 7-day ban, probably not. Maybe a 1-day ban, maybe a 2-day ban. Just, but then again, he keeps violating it, so maybe a 7-day ban is fair. I mean, he keeps breaking the TOS. He keeps breaking the community guidelines. I don't really know what he expects. And now he's doing some whataboutism and trying to make it seem as if this is a huge Twitch problem when in reality it isn't. You can't criticize Twitch for being hypocritical and for having like favoritism. But all he's doing is just trying to dodge accountability from his own shitty behavior, which I find incredibly deplorable.